Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Georgia, and on behalf of Caresoft Technology, I would like to welcome you to our Marion Square webinar, Government Spending on AI in FY25, Key Insights and Opportunities. Now, I would like to introduce our speakers for today's presentation. Here with us, we have Harvey Morrison, who is the co-founder and CEO of Marion Square, an advisory firm dedicated to helping technology companies successfully navigate and do business with the U.S. government. With over 20 years of experience, Harvey has led sales and business development efforts across a wide range of technologies, including cybersecurity, big data, learning management systems, and logistics solutions. His deep expertise in federal procurement, combined with a strong network across government agencies and technology providers, enables him to help companies accelerate growth, secure contracts, and align with key government initiatives. Harvey has worked with startups, mid-sized firms, and large enterprises to develop federal go-to-market strategies, secure funding opportunities, and position emerging technologies for government adoption. He is a recognized advisor in areas such as zero trust security, AI-driven analytics, post-quantum encryption, and cloud modernization. Through Marion Square, Harvey continues to provide strategic guidance to technology firms looking to expand their presence in the federal sector, ensuring they navigate complex procurement processes and maximize their impact in the government marketplace. We also have Mike Adams with us, who is our program executive for AI solutions here at Caresoft. He has been with the company for over 17 years, and in his current role, he works with artificial intelligence and big data vendors such as Cloudera, OpenAI, Tableau, and many others, providing IT leadership in the U.S. government marketplace. His team focuses on selling to the DoD, intelligence community, civilian sector, higher education, Canada, and commercial. With that, I would like to turn it over to our speakers for the day, Harvey and Mike. The floor is yours.
Hey, thanks, Georgia. Really appreciate the time today. Mike's good to be here. I think this is the second one of these that we've done, so it seems to be very popular. A lot going on in the AI space, and so really looking forward to diving into some of the key things. If y'all could go to the next slides, please, that'd be great. So just to start, I wanted to quickly introduce Marion Square for those of you that may not be familiar with us. We help AI and technology companies succeed in government markets. We're an advisory firm that's been in business for over 7 years now. We're a longtime partner and fortunate to be able to work closely with Mike and the whole team at Caresoft here. We really focus on helping companies do three main things. One is understand the government market for their technology. So we help you pinpoint funded initiatives and programs that are a fit for an organization's technology, so you can focus really on the opportunities that matter. We help you develop winning sales strategies. So from our market research, we can align your sales and marketing efforts with key funded initiatives and priorities to maximize both the efficiency and the impact of your organization's investment in government markets. And we assist with sales execution. So we have resources that really act as an extension of your organization to build pipeline, engage decision makers, and win government contracts. As most of you all probably know, governments can be a very complex environment, but for those that I think approach it properly and execute effectively, it can be a big market for organizations. Next slide, please.
And many of you, our partners on the line today, know who Caresoft is. We help government agencies get educated on the technology that's available to them. We help them acquire the technology quickly through our contract vehicles and our extensive, ecosystem of partners, and then help them integrate the solutions quickly through our integration partners.
Okay, so let's dive in here. The U.S. government AI market, which includes how we're defining it as core AI, and then I think you also need to include data and the infrastructure that supports the core AI as part of the overall market, is substantial, and our analysis shows it's set for continued growth in FY25 and beyond. Our research at Marion Square indicates that the new administration will continue strong AI investments, not only to enhance the operational efficiencies of government, but to also advance AI capabilities. And really, I think one of the big important things is maintain our nation's competitive edge over global adversaries like China in this critical market. So when analyzing this market, as I mentioned earlier, I like to think about it in two main categories. One being core AI, so the algorithms and the models that agencies are utilizing to enhance decision-making, improve operational efficiencies, those types of things. And then there's the AI ecosystem and infrastructure that kind of sits around that environment and supports it. So these are foundational technologies that are really required to develop, test, deploy, and operate AI at scale. So this includes things like data preparation, AI model development. So think like DevSecOps for AI, GPU-based, cloud solutions. So where are you going to train those models? And then edge computing is something we're going to talk a little bit about, but being able to run those algorithms out on the edge. Again, that infrastructure that supports that, we're kind of including as part of this whole AI ecosystem. So both of these areas today really, I think, represent a significant opportunity for companies, with infrastructure playing a critical role in enabling the potential of AI across government agencies. If you don't have the infrastructure, it's not really going to work from an AI perspective. So looking at the overall market, Mike, I would argue right now that the demand for data and infrastructure types of technologies, so those technologies, supporting AI is somewhat larger than the core AI market at the moment. More importantly, agencies investing in data and AI infrastructure are really likely, as we're advising our clients, to be the best agencies for AI companies to target because they're actively preparing to deploy and operationalize AI. A key document that supports this perspective came out last month. It's the National Artificial Intelligence Advisory Committee. It's a draft report, but it was released last month, and it highlights one of the biggest challenges to AI adoption across the federal government, at least as this organization sees it. And basically the quote, and we've got it there, is there's a considerable variation in federal agency capacity to integrate modern AI systems without significant upgrades and overhauls. So if you look at that, they're really talking about, do you have the infrastructure and do you have the data to be able to support integrating AI into your agency? So tactically, I think this means, and as again, we're counseling our clients, if you're selling AI to an agency, they may express interest in your technology, and they may acknowledge that, hey, this solves a really big problem for us. However, if the agency doesn't have the necessary infrastructure in place or aren't actively working to build one, they're unlikely to be able to move forward with an AI procurement and deployment in the near term. So that's a real sort of flag we're counseling our organizations or our companies to look at as they're trying to target and figure out where they want to go in the market is there a robust infrastructure able to support the deployment of AI? Agencies investing again in this data readiness and AI infrastructure are really the best position to adopt AI at scale, making these probably the most strategic targets for AI companies to look at. And again, we'll cover some of these organizations, some specific examples a little later in the presentation. But I know, Mike, you and your team work not only with AI, but also I think in the big data space. So maybe you can share what you're all seeing, and does this kind of make sense what we're talking about and how we look at the market?
Yes, all this definitely makes sense. And they talk about 2024 being the year to get your data AI ready. So that's from the storage to security to prepping your data. Because as we all know, you have to have a lot of great data to do AI things.
Yep.
And to get good results in what you're trying to do. And then from the AI infrastructure, the GPUs, you got to have a lot of power, you have to have cooling, you have to have the infrastructure in place to get the results, out of that data. So the previous White House executive orders on AI, while the Biden administration executive order was rescinded, there's still things in his last executive order that were put in place for the government to lease land around creating these new data centers. That piece is going to continue to go forward. The new Trump guidance, new administration guidance around AI infrastructure that came out says that they're going to be looking at previous national security memo and OMB memos, and some of that will be tweaked a little bit, and there's going to be some new guidance there. But we fully expect that the government is going to be funding, these areas of getting your data AI ready, buying the power you need, buying the storage and security you need for your data. The biggest thing there is, from the new administration is how do we keep the United States at the forefront and the leader in AI technology? And, we have to have that infrastructure there first. So this is the baseline component to, I think, what all agencies are going to be doing around artificial intelligence at the very least.
No, I agree wholeheartedly with that. Maybe if you'll move to the next slide, please. So one of the first questions to kind of piggyback off what you were talking about there, Mike, that I'm always asked by clients and prospective clients is, how will the new administration and the things going on in Washington today and its policies really impact AI spend for government? So far, we've seen some early signs with the Executive Order 14179, which was issued in January by the Trump administration. And really the name of it actually tells you all you need to know about it, which is removing barriers to American leadership in AI. So essentially what this revoked was any AI policies that the previous administration had put in place that the new administration deems is going to slow down the production and the release of AI. So if you just look at that at the high level, it shows you that the government really this administration wants to drive AI and all those things around AI to keep a competitive advantage for the US. Another great, I think, example or another great show of the administration's push towards this is they've hired an AI and crypto czar. So he's a former executive at PayPal, is now the AI and crypto czar. So there's going to be somebody focused specifically on that. And what I think this means going forward, again, based on some early actions, I would expect the administration to really kind of focus in 4 key areas if you look at AI. One is going to be, as I mentioned, with that 14179 executive order, removing regulatory barriers and really streamlining AI policies to accelerate both innovation and commercialization. I think 2, there's going to be maintaining global leadership. So a renewed push to really kind of outpace China in AI development and deployment, not only in the government space, but I think across the commercial sectors as well. Expanding AI adoption in really critical sectors. And what I mean by that is an increased focus in areas like defense, homeland security, the Justice Department, and even the intel community. And then lastly, the DOGE environment, or the DOGE message is out there. Everybody's seeing it and looking at it. So I think, using AI to reduce government costs, improve operational efficiencies, and optimize agency workflows are going to be, again, the 4 key areas that government, I think, is going to focus in. And I think if you look at these policies and things that are coming out, it really indicates a strong commitment to invest in AI, right? With a clear emphasis on things like speed, innovation, and national security. As the AI strategy and action plan, and then there's an action plan, I forgot to mention, that's got to come out within 180 days of when the administration came in, develops over the next coming months, we expect to see future funding allocations and policy shifts that are going to shape AI opportunities in the federal market. So again, I think there's a lot of opportunity that's going to come. I think there's a lot of funding that's going to come. I think we're still kind of in a pattern here, a holding pattern to see what those final initiatives are going to end up being. But again, I think a lot of that's going to come out in the 180-day plan that the Trump administration has deemed that needs to happen. So, Mike, I know you all track legislation quite a bit here in the building. Any thoughts or things you'd like to add to that?
Sure. A lot of good information there. You hit the nail on the head. If I'm going to add anything here, plans, like I said, the OMB memos, they're going to look at those and find out what's going to be rescinded, what they're going to add in terms of new executive orders. But as far as the plans, I expect to see a lot of stuff around forging ahead with some of the use cases around defense, healthcare, finance.
Yep.
So much is been spoken about DOGE and efficiencies. People are going to use AI technology to help them in these areas. We talk about, what's a bona fide AI technology or what's AI enabled. But again, a lot of the programs, projects, and applications the government is going to be implementing are going to be around these big important use cases, the defense, healthcare, finance, and how are they going to implement technology, AI, to help make all these things better, more efficient, faster, cheaper, et cetera.
Yep, no, I would agree. Yeah, if you go to the next slide, please. So we'll dive in a little deeper here now around the AI and the use cases and those sorts of things in government. But to just give everybody a sense of AI's potential scale in government, there was an executive order that came out that required agencies to inventory all of their AI use cases. And as a result, as of today, there's over 1,700 use cases that were identified where agencies believe they could deploy AI to solve a particular use case. So this slide highlights the major AI use case categories and the agencies with the highest number of identified use cases. As you can see, analytics is clearly the dominant use case, followed by autonomous systems and then natural language processing. Among the federal agencies, the DoD is by far the one with the largest set of AI use cases that are out there, followed by HHS and Interior. So, Mike, I don't know if you want to add anything to this. I know you've seen a lot of these use cases before, but yeah, this is a pretty big and exhaustive list, I think, of use cases.
And to look at some of the agencies and departments that are on there, defense, healthcare, finance, infrastructure. It makes sense to see all those. And, digital twins, I think that's a really cool and interesting use case around disaster preparedness. DHS, for example, hiring, they're beefing up their AI core.
Yep.
They're hiring, data scientists and hiring smart people to help them, not only identify use cases, but to put these things into action, put them into production. FEMA, again, disaster preparedness. But DHS is really interesting because there's so many different things they do.
Yep.
And there's so many different components of DHS. That's one where some of the things they're doing, I think, are be really important to our country, to keep us safe, to keep us healthy, and to keep us, forging ahead.
Yeah, one of the areas we'll cover when we get through some of the specific use cases is going to be DHS. And you're right, there's a wide swath of use cases and areas that DHS is participating in. So no, we're really excited about these use cases. Again, analytics is a very interesting one. And the other interesting one that we talk about is autonomous. And where autonomous is being utilized, and we'll mention a couple examples of that as well as we go forward. So I know there's another poll question that popped up, but maybe you can go to the next slide, please. So what we wanted to do here was really just kind of highlight for everybody what some of these use cases really mean in detail when government talks about them. So the largest one out there that we talked about was analytics. So, as government looks at it and the research we've done on it, it really involves leveraging machine learning and statistical techniques to extract insights from really large data sets to enhance decision-making, improve operational efficiencies, those types of things. So think, predictive analytics, anomaly detection from a cyber perspective, trend analysis, and really real-time data monitoring. So some of the organizations out there, agencies out there that are really focusing in on analytics, DoD, Census Bureau with the new, everybody's getting ready for the 2030 census. HHS, IRS is doing a big project in this area, as well as DHS. The next one that we talk about is the NLP, or the natural language processing, right? So this is AI systems that process, understand, and generate human language. Examples of natural language processing includes, a lot of agencies are doing virtual assistants. Some agencies are doing language translation and speech recognition. Agencies that are really kind of focused in this area are VA, so they've got chatbots and those sorts of things that are helping improve citizen service, Department of Justice, and GSA. Then we have imaging, which is really focusing on processing, analyzing, and interpreting visual data. So examples include things like object detection. So, you fly a drone around a base and the drone's doing security. It's looking for, hey, did somebody leave a bomb or a bag or something next to the base? Let's do object detection to identify that. Facial recognition, medical imaging. And again, some of the agencies that are doing this include DoD, Department of State, Energy, and DHS. And then lastly, again, another big use case is autonomous. So using AI for programs like autonomous vehicles, unmanned aerial systems, robotic process automation, and intelligent decision making. So again, as you can probably imagine, agencies like DoD, DHS, and NASA are all focused on these technologies. Mike, are there any we may have missed? I mean, I know you talked to a lot of government agencies and are trying to better understand the use cases there. Are there any we've missed or you'd want to add to that list?
So using AI within cybersecurity, I mentioned digital twins previously. Those are two ones that come to mind. But I mean, right now, when you look at the use cases that are out there, these are some of the biggest ones in there that, our partners are looking at and figuring out how they can help government customers understand, what their pain points are and how they can help them around, these areas.
Yep, great. Maybe next slide, please. So I know we talked about, remember, as we broke the market out, it was core AI algorithms, which we've talked about. And now we want to talk just a little bit about the data modernization that is enabling AI. So, again, the market's not 100% about just core AI algorithms. There's a big market out there now to help agencies get their data ready and help agencies get the infrastructure in place to support the development, deployment, the operations of these AI models. And so some of the big initiatives underway, you'll really kind of see under data infrastructure modernization are things that we've seen. And some of the programs that fall under that are things like a cloud migration, so transitioning on-premise servers to scalable cloud environments so we can start to do more real-time data processing. There's a big program out there from FEMA called FEMADEX, right, where they're trying to build a big data exchange platform. Data lakes and warehouses, where we're implementing centralized repositories that enable efficient data access to do analytics. So you need to be able to access this data very efficiently. IRS has a program called EDP and data analytics, and this innovative support program that IRS is running. There's the high performance compute, right? So deploying AI optimized hardware and GPU based architectures for advanced analytics and machine learning workloads, right? So those are the GPU clouds. And I'll also mention below that the edge computing. So, hey, we want to be able to have a high performance compute, but have it on the edge, disconnected. So think about, CBP or SOCOM. I want to collect data from a sensor, maybe a drone in the sky, maybe a body cam, maybe something from the border wall. And I want to be able to process all that in the field and get real-time information out of that. So, Mike, I know we've asked you about the AI piece of this. Are y'all seeing any more or additional things or when it comes to this data modernization?
Yeah, the government, this is where the big focus is, modernizing, how they're looking at data, modernizing the data center, getting their AI infrastructure in place, whether it's, in the data center or the cloud. I just saw an announcement before I came in here. Partner of ours, Lambda, got a big round of funding to build out their AI infrastructure in the cloud. That's going to continue. It's not cheap to do anything AI related. And so, partners that have, a message in these areas, cloud migration, data lakes and warehouses, high performance computing, edge computing. There's a real opportunity there. Government, they will admittedly say that they don't have, you know, all of the infrastructure from a people perspective. There's super talented people in government, but they still need more folks that know how to do this high performance computing and know AI to help them implement these things and get them in production to where they're helping us.
Yep. And again, the reason we mention this is, at least from my perspective and why I like to focus on it, is in my mind, this is a really great marker for AI companies wanting to do business with government. If you can go in and see where an agency has done an infrastructure modernization, a data modernization, those types of things, you know that they are able to support AI. If they don't have this, if they've not made the investment in this and they're talking about AI, I think they're talking about AI well into the future, not right now. So again, this is, to me, one, it's an opportunity for companies because I think government's trying to put things in place to support it. But I think two, it's a real good marker for AI companies as well as they approach agencies and try to figure out which ones should we target, which ones maybe we shouldn't. If you want to go to the next slide, we'll walk through some examples of a few different major initiatives in the market that we're seeing. So the first one that I'll put up here is Department of State, and they're actually developing their first ever enterprise data and AI strategy, which is set to take place in FY26. So they're in the middle of doing this program now. And essentially what they're wanting to do is combine the agency's enterprise data strategy with their artificial intelligence strategy. So instead of having two separate strategies, they're going to combine them into one program. And what's driving this is, straight out of the State Department, is they have a real growing appetite for data analysis and virtualization. So that, I think, goes back to those use cases, Mike, that we talked about earlier when you started to stack rank them. Data analytics, data analysis was the number one, and visualization was a number two on there. So, the State Department is admitting we have a growing appetite for this, including, analytics, data management, governance, scientific, data integrity, storage. So everything around data, again, to drive the use of AI. The other thing that the State Department is doing is just trying to stand up an AI app store as well, to be able to take advantage of all the information and all the work that they're doing here around data. So if you're in the data space or you're in the AI space, I think the State Department is one area you should definitely take a look at. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that, Mike, but I'll see.
Absolutely. State Department, they've been very active as far as AI infrastructure, Gen AI. There's a lot of cool use cases they have. So yeah, Department of State is definitely a big.
Yeah, I would see natural language processing in there as well.
I'm excited to see what they do with the marketplace.
Yeah, I am too. I think that's going to be really interesting. If you'll go to the next slide, please. So I know we talked earlier, Mike, about DHS and its sub-agencies. I think this is an area that there's a lot of opportunity for AI companies, just because you've got DHS, headquarters, and then all the sub-agencies that underneath it, and they're all doing something really in the AI space. So, DHS headquarters, S&T, has their AI sandbox and their test bed that they're building out to basically provide as a service for all DHS agencies to develop and test, AI and ML sorts of models. So they're putting that environment together. CISA has their CAP-M, which is really envisioned as a versatile, multi-cloud, multi-tenant environment designed to facilitate the testing of software and the evolution of machine learning functionalities. This is really focused also, when you dig into this program, around artificial intelligence in the cybersecurity space. You've got CBP and their Ops Tech organization. The one thing that I'll really mention about CBP and Ops Tech is CBP is one of the main agencies that's really looking at an edge computing environment to run AI. So if you have anything to do with edge computing, or you have an AI algorithm that kind of runs on the edge, that is an area that I would definitely take a look at. And then if you look at big data and trying to get data together so it can be accessed and analyzed, FEMA is putting together their FEMA Dex environment, which is really designed for data sharing and data analytics, and really allow leadership across the agencies to have access to analyze and rapidly visualize data from all different types of sources and shareholders across DHS. So again, a lot, I think, going on in DHS from an AI perspective. Mike, you may have some other insights there as well that you'd want to share.
Yeah, so I mean, they've got a lot of data. They have a lot of components. They do a lot of things from making sure the borders are safe. You mentioned edge computing. We talked about drones. The amount of data from that alone. They're processing people that are coming in on flights from out of the country.
Yep.
They handle cybersecurity. There's just so many different components at DHS and a lot of cool use cases. And this is going to be a big area of focus for me and my team and the vendors that I work with, because there's just so many opportunities there. And I think a lot of us that are, all of us that are in this space, we're doing it because we care about the country and we want to see us do well. So this is one where I'm excited about for the future and to see what comes of it. And DHS, they're putting a lot of money into, like we talked about, their infrastructure, their people. So DHS, they're definitely a sort of a flagship when it comes to using AI.
Exactly. To your point too, they're putting money in the data modernization and the data infrastructure to be able to power it. So there's opportunities for both types of organizations. But again, it's also that marker for AI companies to say, hey, they're actually going to have the data and the infrastructure to support deploying and running these AI models. So if you go to the next slide, we'll have another example for you here. So Advana is a really big, well-known Department of Defense initiative that represents, I think, a major opportunity for AI companies really looking to work with government. Advana stands for, it's kind of short for Advancing Analytics. It's the DoD's enterprise-wide analytics and AI platform. And it's really designed to give military and civilian leaders across all the DoD domains unprecedented access to structured analytics and authoritative data in a scalable and reliable and secure environment, right? So essentially it serves as the foundation for integrating AI-driven insights into the DoD decision-making process. So the program's been gaining a lot of momentum. If you want to talk about, budgets like significantly, there's a significant boost in the FY25 budget that's been proposed for the Advana program, with Department of Defense adding an additional $168 million to expand this platform's capabilities. So, the funding is specifically focused around, and again, if you're in these spaces, this should be something you should be thinking about, enhancing data engineering, so improving data integration and data processing, scalability and security, so ensuring that this platform can handle the massive data sets across different DoD agencies, and then AI and machine learning integration, so it's really accelerating the AI adoption within the DoD operation. So again, big program, lots of funding around it. The analytics use case that we talked about there, Mike. So I know you're probably familiar with this. Is there anything you'd like to add for the team out here, for folks to consider?
Sure. So if you got a message, that's one of the things is, between Marion Square and Carahsoft tracking these RFXs that are coming out, and then trying to get ahead of those, talking to customers now about, what they're working on. So when RFXs do come out, there could hopefully be written as much as they can be to what your capabilities are. So, the salient characteristics match up with what you do well is important, because whether it's Advana or things like the big one coming out, Atom Smasher, you want to make sure you're ahead of the curve on these and you're tracking these. And when you go talk to these customers, they want to make sure that you understand what their pain points are, and sort of what they're trying to accomplish, and then talking to them about the technology you have, how it can help them, and all the better if there's similar use cases that are similar to those folks you're talking to. and you can show them the success stories. You can show them you've got experience with that use case.
Yep.
That's one of the things they want to hear. But there's a lot of different RFXs that are going to be coming out that we're all collectively tracking that are important, whether it's analytics to AI infrastructure.
Yep. No, I 100% agree with you. And I think, you hit the nail on the head there. And this is what we always counsel our clients to think about is don't go to Advana with a generic message. Go to Advana understanding what the program's about, understanding the architecture of the program and where your organization would fit. Like that, I think, is a really key thing. And to your point too, even though the budgets haven't been passed, we have a real good idea what they're going to ask for. Now is the time to be in front of these folks, because when the budget gets passed and the RFX comes out, it's too late.
Yep.
You got to get on a team now. You got to understand, we do this work for our clients all the time is, hey, we think an RFX is going to come out for Advana. Which team should we be on? Because a lot of times the government's not going to buy an individual technology. They're going to buy a whole stack of technology and want an integrator to run it and manage it for them. So you may have the best analytics technology, but if you can't get on a team, you're not going to get to respond.
Yeah.
So just something to keep in mind.
And that's one of the things we counsel folks on, and we try and go to our government customers and federal systems integrators to talk about is these better together stories. Some understanding who's to the left, who's to the right, up or down from you in the technology stack. It's going to help you tell a more compelling story, and it's going to allow the customer to figure out, where you fit in. And no one wants to rip and replace anything. So again, the more you can align your message with the technology stack and what's working today, all the better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we've got one last one that we wanted to talk about from an initiatives perspective. And this is the AI Rapid Intelligence Rapid Capability Cell, right? And essentially this is a DoD-wide initiative designed to accelerate the adoption of AI-driven decision-making and data integration across all the combatant commands and the mission-critical components. Now, this is under CDAO, and it's focused on operationalizing AI, right, for real-time battlefield awareness and mission planning, scaling. So they're really focusing on scaling AI pilots into full-scale deployments across multiple domains. So this is a critical piece because sometimes you listen and they're going, hey, we're just going to do these pilots to kind of prove things out. And then companies get disappointed because it ends up just being a pilot. But this is a program where they're really hoping to pilot a solution and then be able to scale it out into a production environment. They also want to focus on standardizing frameworks to ensure AI models can be securely and effectively trained on DoD data sets. So unlike other DoD AI programs, again, that I talked about that focus on, excuse me, R&D and intelligence applications, this AI RCC is really mission focused, and it aims to put AI into the hands of warfighters, analysts, and commanders to improve operational decision making. So Mike, and have you guys seen anything about this, AI RCC, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so we're talking to a lot of our partners about it, talk to integration partners and resellers. And this is one of those important ones that, is AI and in government, it becomes not just an important thing we talked about years ago to becoming just part of the oxygen of government. These are one of the programs we get excited about. This is one of the ones that is helping our country be a safer, better place, and it's going to accelerate sort of our military and help them do their jobs.
Yep.
And I think it's we're going to find some cost savings within there as we modernize the technology they're using too.
Yeah, and the nice thing is there's a big budget with it too. If you look at the bottom there, there's over $100 million in FY24 and FY25 to really focus in developing these pilots, developing the sandbox, and then being able to, as we talked about, quickly deploy these sorts of things or scale these types of pilots up that work and get them to the combatant and commander's hands. If you hit the next slide, please. So Mike, we talked about a lot today regarding, the two different types of categories in AI. with the core AI algorithms and then the data and data modernization and the infrastructure to support that. Again, I think there's going to be big opportunities for organizations in both of those sectors going forward. We talked a little bit about the new administration and what they're going to be doing with AI. I don't think it's going to slow anything down. If anything, I think it's going to try to speed it up. Not only from a, hey, we want to improve operational efficiencies and cut costs across government, but I also think it's a national imperative that we stay ahead of other nation states that are out there. So I think you're going to see a big investment in those sorts of things. And so, you know, if there's any next steps that I would recommend organizations, you know, if the discussions today has really kind of sparked your interest in trying to sell your technology into DoD or DHS or across the civilian markets, our team at Marion Square would love to hear from you and connect with you, and welcome to have a conversation. You know, through our market assessment engagement that we talked with organizations about, we can really help organizations determine which federal markets or which agencies are a good fit for your solution or technology. And then along with, you know, who the real buyers are, which programs are funded, and actively seeking solutions, and then how to best position your technology to pursue those types of contracts. So again, we'd love to connect with you. So feel free to reach out. We'll be following up post this as well. And if you got, we'll do some questions here at the end also. But again, would love to connect with you if you want to learn more on how you can leverage Marion Square to help you get into the government space. And again, we're tied really closely in partnership really closely with Microsoft or with Carahsoft. So we're going to leverage a lot of that ecosystem as well too.
Yes. Thank you so much to Harvey and Mike for speaking with us today. I think I speak for our entire audience that was a really wonderful presentation, very informative. So as Harvey mentioned, now we can start up with our Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please use that Q&A pod on the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. And I see a bunch are already in that Q&A pod, so I will just go ahead and ask our first question. So if the government is going to invest in AI, how likely are they to be open to different vendors and competitive procurements?
Yeah, so I think if you look at government and what they're doing now, they're wanting to engage, I think, with a broad swath of different types of AI companies and AI vendors. And what shows or what proves that to me or shows that to me is there's a lot of innovation programs out there now that government is awarding multiple contracts to multiple types of vendors to really kind of see, hey, what's the best approach to doing this? So it's not like this is a robust, I'm not sorry, I shouldn't say robust, a mature market where it's like, hey, we know who the leaders are and this is what we're going to invest in are those leaders. I think government really looks at this as a new market, a growing market, and they're really trying to get their arms around what's the best approach and what's the best way to do it. So in my opinion, if you're a new company trying to get into government, this AI market is a really good opportunity for you to do it because I don't think there's any major leaders that have been set out right now. Mike, you may feel different, but that's kind of my thought.
Well, I don't want to be, too partial here. I work with a lot of great partners. But as far as the contracts, I do expect, some multiple award IDIQs, like that's going to continue. I expect there'll be some AI specific contract vehicles that might come out or AI specific SINs that come out that's going to help the government identify technology that's been approved that they can utilize. Because again, things are only going to go faster.
Yep.
So that's just to finish off.
I think they're still trying to put their strategy together and their plans together, and they're trying to figure out what's the best approach. So again, it's not a mature market. So I think there's a lot of opportunity and it's going to be competitive, but I think it's an open competition for a lot of companies to get into the space.
Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you both. Our next question is, can some examples be provided on analytics use cases that have been deployed?
Sure. So every agency, we talked about some of the use cases that are out there. We showed the big list, and those can be everything from, the sensitive to the not as sensitive. I mean, everyone's using Gen AI to try and do things, create efficiencies, get better understanding of the data they have. But yeah, there's countless use cases out there.
Yeah, I think from an analytics perspective, specifically, what I have seen, right, is there's a lot in the predictive analytics space.
Mhm.
So think about everything from DoD trying to do predictive maintenance on equipment. Hey, when's a part going to fail? So I don't just change a part every 5,000 miles because I may not need to change it for 7, right?
Yeah.
So try to do predictive analytics to see when a part may fail is an example. Another example is around cybersecurity. So how do I sift through all this data to find a particular anomaly as a potential analytics use case? And then we've also got, I've seen analytics in the back office in the financial environment, right? Where they're trying to find waste, fraud, and abuse, where they're trying to predict, hey, how do we budget better based upon past data and what we're trying to spend? So there's a lot of use cases that are going to be around analytics specifically.
Yeah, and if you think about healthcare, drug discovery,
Exactly.
giving patients better outcomes, just again, countless.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you both. Another question that came in, great content. Are these categories similar at the state level as well? And I believe this question was asked when we were discussing which agencies and which specific technologies were most prevalent in government. They were wondering if that was federally focused, state focused, or just kind of an overall overview of what we see for both.
So the 1,700 use cases that were identified were specifically for federal agencies. However, I would probably tell you, probably not autonomous, but I definitely see across state and local governments a big drive for analytics. I see in certain states a big drive for natural language processing around chatbot for citizen services is also for helping state employees become more efficient.
Yep.
So, but specifically, Georgia, the 1,700 use cases that were identified there and laid out were for the federal government.
Yeah, and I do think there's, and to add on to that, state and local government, they've got a lot of similar use cases when it comes to Gen AI and finding efficiencies. Like everyone's trying to do that right now. State agencies, they have healthcare things. State agencies have financial issues. So many of them do and can mirror what's going on the federal level as well.
Great, thank you both. Another question that came in that actually I can answer. It's about that March 14th event. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the registration links into the chat. So if you are interested in registering, we have an in-person registration link and also an online registration link. We do think you'll get a lot more out of it in person, but happy to have you online as well if you are not able to attend at the Carahsoft office. And moving on to our other questions. Next, we have, how do you believe that the Doge group is using AI to review all of the government data that they are scooping up?
So I don't know specifically how they're using AI to do that. But again, AI can help you create some efficiencies and help you notice outliers. That's one of the things for sure that they're using. Harvey was talking about, analytics. So there's definitely a component of it somewhere. I don't know the specifics though myself.
I don't know the specifics either, but I do know the analytics piece, especially the use case around waste, fraud, and abuse, is something that they're using. I think they were looking at, they went in and running queries and said, how many people are getting Social Security checks that are over 100, and they were cross-referencing that with what's the life expectancy and how many people in a state are over 100, and they're starting to find some discrepancies there. So I think that's the analytics piece. You're 100% correct, is one of the big ways that they're using it.
Yeah, and whenever you're looking, for fraud, waste, and abuse, you're looking for trends and anomalies, things you can identify. So it just makes the analyst's job that much easier, and it's needed when you're looking at that much data.
Exactly.
Yep, that definitely makes sense to me. Another question that we have is, would the Marion Square team please share with us what their thoughts are on selling AI hardware versus AI software?
So I think from what I've seen, right, there's obviously a bigger market for AI software in the government, but there are specific use cases for AI hardware, especially in the edge computing space, which has, if you go to places like CBP is a big area. So we talked about DHS and some of the things they're doing. If you go into the DoD, right, edge computing and AI around the edge, I think is a big space. So I think the AI software market is bigger, but I think there are definite opportunities for AI hardware in key agencies. And I think there'll be big opportunities there. You're just not gonna be able to go across government and sell it like you would AI software. I don't know, Mike, if you're.
Yeah, yeah, and then like the GPUs that they're going to buy, modernizing the data center to do AI stuff. There's going to be a lot of hardware there. But as they're looking to solve, as they're getting their data AI ready, and they've got it ready, they've got their AI infrastructure in place, and now they're addressing their use cases. Lots of software.
Yep, I would agree.
Perfect. Thank you. Next question, is impact level 4 a requirement for most of these opportunities?
It depends on the agency, depends on the environment.
Yep.
That's a big security requirement to be in certain areas. IL4 and IL5 and above. FedRAMP is big, especially if you're selling to the federal government. You're going to want to have your FedRAMP authorized, software solutions if you're selling SaaS.
Yeah, again, I think it's going to be by use case and by agency as to whether you need probably LISAS is out of the question, but low, moderate, or high from a FedRAMP perspective. And then, can you do an IL2? You get a FedRAMP moderate, you get grandfathered into an impact level 2. Could you maybe use that? Again, depends on the use case and the agency. So, I can't give you a definitive, yes, it's going to need to be impact level 4, because again, it would just depend on the use case and the agency. But the folks at Carahsoft, I'll tell you, has a great organization and a lot of good programs around helping companies get that impact level. Marion Square, part of our engagements that we work with clients, we look at the opportunity that's out there, and then we help the client understand, okay, if you want to pursue this opportunity, you're going to need a FedRAMP moderate, or you're going to need an impact level 4. So really kind of make your plans based on the actual opportunity and the requirements out there. Don't go into it thinking you need this when you may need something else. But I can tell you, working with Carahsoft, they've got a lot of resources here that can help organizations get through that process.
Thanks. Thank you to both Harvey and Mike for that. We have a lot more questions, so we're just going to get to as many as we can before we have to jump off. And we'll follow up with anyone offline if we don't get to you today. Next question is, who are the leading ISVs targeting the drone and body camera imaging AI market?
We'll have to talk to Lacey on that one.
Yeah,
That's a great question. I'd love to follow up with that individual that asked that question, because off the top of my head, I don't have even the short list, so I apologize. But would love to follow up with you on that.
So just a couple of things that I've seen in the market from at least a drone perspective is Palmer Luckey's company. The name just jumped out of my head here. I can't believe I don't remember it. But anyway, there is Palmer Luckey has a company that's doing a lot of work out there in the drone space. There is a company called Helsig out of Germany, which is doing a lot of work and combining AI with the drone space as well. And the one that everybody kind of knows about and doesn't think about it in that space is Palantir. So they're working with various drone manufacturers to put AI and analytics and those sorts of things there. So some of the new companies that are out there, and then some are kind of the older, Palantir's not that old, but some of the more mainstream types of companies that are out there. Again, we'll have to get back with you on the body cam piece of that, but from an autonomous and a drone perspective, those are some of the big ones that I'm seeing.
Wonderful. Next question is an interesting one. So given the ongoing push to bring manufacturing back to the US and reduce reliance on foreign supply chains, how is the DoD leveraging AI to streamline advanced manufacturing to lower costs?
Yeah, so I've seen a few different programs right now that is out there around, and these are innovation programs that DoD is looking at around embedding artificial intelligence to improve manufacturing. So if you take a look, and you could call us Marion Square, we can talk with you about some of that. But there are specific innovation programs where you can see government, or DoD specifically, is trying to look at how to improve manufacturing, leveraging AI. The other thing that we've seen a lot of is, again, it gets back to AI hardware versus software, is we're seeing a lot of interest potentially in these smart warehouses that are leveraging 5G as well as robotics, which is driven by AI, right? So autonomous, robotics, and AI all coming together to start to create not only manufacturing, but also smart warehouses as well.
Yeah, adding in on that, one of the last Biden executive orders that hasn't been rescinded yet spoke about, the need for DoD and Department of Energy to identify land to put some of these to put some data centers. It's a big opportunity in manufacturing. So to Harvey's point, I think you did a pretty good job covering it.
So thank you.
Perfect. I think let's take one more question, and we'll try and get to everyone else offline. So the last question that we will have today is, you had mentioned a couple of agencies like FEMA are going to the cloud to scale out their initiatives and away from on-prem. Are they not concerned about the unpredictable costs associated with the cloud?
I think a lot of agencies are, everyone's trying to look at how they can, optimize what they're spending money on. Anything, a lot of things have a cost, but, I think it's optimizing what they're doing in the cloud and trying to bring, the analytics to your data versus keeping everything in the cloud and perpetuity. And yeah, that could be a really high cost. So I think agencies are getting smart on how they can optimize what they do in the cloud, what they store in the cloud versus what they store on-prem, and what kind of work they're doing on-prem. So I think agencies are becoming more efficient at it, but if left unchecked, I'm sure it could be an outrageous cost.
Yeah. Well, I look at it and say, it's what's going to be optimized from an architecture perspective to drive the outcome that you want from AI, right? So in some instances, it's going to be, hey, let's keep it on premise, because to your point, we want to be able to manage it all here from a security perspective, from a cost perspective. But I think in other instances, it's going to be the architecture is going to be more cost effective to have all the data come together in the cloud and then be able to run your AI algorithms on top of that. So again, I think they're not going to go away from on-premise, but they're going to look at the use cases, how they want to deploy AI, and then architect the infrastructure to support what's going to be most cost effective, along with what's going to enable AI to perform best.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Harvey and Mike. And thank you to everyone for the awesome engagement this afternoon and for joining us today. We really hope that this webinar was helpful for you and your organization.